Do you worry a lot about what other people think of you in your game? Does this worry hold you back and cause you to play tight and timidly? What I'm going to do is go over what's the difference between caring and worrying. And then I'm also going to give you 2 different tips that you can use to stop worrying so much about what other people think. Worrying about what other people think of your game is one of the most common causes of many different mental game challenges, such as the fear of failure, sports performance anxiety, perfectionism, so feeling like you have to play perfect, self-doubt, and honestly just many more. And one of the most common kind of conversations that I have with athletes when we are talking about how to stop worrying so much about what other people think is the difference between care and worry. And we need to make that distinction, because if you want to stop worrying about what other people think, it doesn't mean you have to stop caring about how you play. So I want to tell you 2 different stories that just illustrate and highlight the difference between this worry and this care. Now, these are just general stories. They don't pertain to any one athlete in particular. They're just general ideas that I've seen and principles I've seen a lot in different athletes, but also within my own life too. So for the first story, it's of a baseball player. Now, this baseball player has a game tomorrow. All throughout the week, he has been really stressed during practice. He's been stressed during practice because he's worried about playing time. He had a bad game the last time they played. They've had a week off. Now they've had a whole week of practice. And every day during practice, he's been worried about how the next game will go. And because of this worry, he hasn't been as focused as he needs to be on his batting practice, on his fielding work, and honestly on the small details of his game that are the reason that he played poorly last time. Now, as the game starts to get closer and closer, this worry grows. And so now it's the day before the game, and he finds out that he has some family coming into town for his sister's graduation this weekend. And this worry just explodes because now he thinks, oh my goodness, how embarrassing will it be if I don't start? If I do start, how embarrassing will it be if I don't play that well? If I make a few mistakes, they haven't seen me play in so long, they're going to think that I'm a bad player. I'm supposed to be good. He has these kinds of thoughts racing through his mind that night. He has a very difficult time falling asleep. So he has a game the next day, and he has a pretty rough night's sleep due to all this stress. He wakes up the next morning. They don't have school. The game's on a Saturday. And so he wakes up the next morning, and he's full of all this worry again. He wakes up with a knot in his stomach. As he goes throughout the morning, he has to be at the field at about 11 o'clock. So he starts to feel more and more stressed. He has a tough time eating, and he's honestly not starting to focus on his pregame routine that he's put in place that he knows will help him feel confident and calm himself down. As he gets to the field during their batting practice before the game, he's stressed, he's worried about coach. He's still not 100% sure if he'll start yet. He hasn't seen the lineup. And so this worry just keeps increasing. He's not as focused on his batting practice. His mind is everywhere else. Now, he gets the starting lineup, and he is starting. You would think that this would be a great thing for him. He would feel confident because that was what he was worried about all week. However, the anxiety only grows because he sees his family now in the stands, and he starts to think, okay, I have to play well today. I can't make mistakes now. And so as the game starts, his mind is fixed on not making mistakes because of his family, not wanting to make mistakes because he's worried about what his coach is thinking of them. And then you also add in the general worries that he has about his teammates and the fans there. And what do you think happens? He ends up playing poorly. He makes a couple errors in the field, has a poor game at the plate, all because of this constant worry about other people and how he'll play. The next story is of a soccer player. Now, this soccer player equally has a game tomorrow. Now, all throughout the week, she's been really focused during practice on some aspects of her game that she wants to work on because she is worried about how she plays. She cares a lot about how she'll play that next game because she is coming off a poor performance. But instead of worrying, she focuses on all the small details she needs to be working on throughout the week, and she has a really great week of focused practice. Now, the game is tomorrow, and she's having dinner tonight with her family, and at dinner, she's told that she has some family coming into town. And this makes her really excited because now she's more motivated going into the game tomorrow because she wants to play well for her family. And so that wanting to play well, that desire turns into motivation for her. So right before she goes to bed, she ends up going through the first phase of her pregame routine. She does a little bit of visualization and goes through her game plan and her strategy for the next day. Now, the next day is Friday, so she has school throughout the day. She wakes up in the morning, has a nice breakfast, goes to school, and does her best to just focus on school throughout the day because she knows that there's no point in worrying about the game yet because the game isn't happening yet. She goes throughout the day, and then she ends up getting to the field at about 3 o'clock, and the game starts at 4. Now, with the game starting at 4, she has a little bit of time to start warming up. She goes through the remainder of her pregame routine, her mental pregame routine. She does a little bit of mindfulness to get herself nice and calm, nice and focused. And then as warm-ups are continuing, she focuses on getting her body warm, getting her skills fine-tuned right before the game starts. And then when the game starts, she's not focused on her family in the stands. She's not worried about coach. She's focused on every small detail and moment of the game, goes out there and gives full effort, and she plays a fantastic game. Now, what do you notice are the main differences between those two stories? The one thing that immediately stands out to me is their focus. All throughout the week, the night before, and then during the game, the baseball player, he was focused on everybody else. And most importantly, he was focused on the worries about how he'll play in the upcoming game. To the point where he was so worried about the next play during the game that he didn't focus on the play that he's in right now. And so he ended up making mistakes, making more mistakes, having poor at-bats. The soccer player, in contrast, she was more focused on the present moment. Yes, she cared about playing well. Yes, she wanted to play well. But that desire to play well, that motivation, brought her attention back into the present moment to where during practice, she was fully focused throughout the week. The night before the game, instead of worrying, she got herself nice and calm, nice and relaxed, her confidence boosted by going through her routine, and then had a good night's sleep. The next day, instead of worrying about the game all throughout the day and tiring herself out mentally, she did her best to just focus on school. And then when it came to pregame and then the actual game, she was focused on what she needed to do at that moment to play her best. That right there shows us the major difference between care and worry. When you care about playing well, you use that care to drive your attention back into what you need to be doing at this current moment to play your best. Worry keeps your mind fixed on the future, and you just worry and you hope that you don't make a mistake. You hope that you play well, and that worry drives anxiety and tension. Now, how can you actionably focus more in the present moment, use this care to your advantage, and let go of these worries about what other people think of you? Well, to be honest with you, it's less about dropping those worries and it's more about controlling your attention, right? Because those stories, they highlight that the second example, that soccer player, she still cared about what other people thought of her because that's the most natural thing as an athlete, because other people are what determine your playing time. It feels great when other people say that you're a good player. That's how you get awards, is because other people think that you're good. But she didn't get caught up in worrying and stressing about what will they think of me if I make a mistake. She cared, but she didn't worry. And now the way that you can go about doing this for yourself comes in kind of two different ways, or two different tips that I want to share with you. The first tip is you need to get very clear on how you actually play well. So once again, when you care about playing well, you need to have that care serve as motivation for you to drive your attention back into the present moment to help yourself actually perform your best. Because no matter how badly you want to play well, no matter how much you worry about not wanting to make mistakes, the truth is making mistakes or playing well is the result of what's happening right now. So you need to understand what you need to focus on to play well, and then give most of your attention, if not all of your attention, to those things. An exercise that you can do to help with this is list out everything that goes into you playing well. Do a little reverse engineering and get clear on what goes into me having a good game or having a good match or a good tournament. Once you understand all of those different things, I want you to simplify it even further to the main controllable parts of your game. What is controllable about playing well? Then what I want you to do is simplify those even more to the very specific and simple things that if you focus on these maybe 3 to 5 things throughout the week, throughout the game, that gives you the best chance of playing well. But that idea right there is the one that I've honestly seen the most success with, where you accept that, yes, I want to play well. Yes, I care about what other people think of me, but I refuse to worry about it. I refuse to allow my attention to stay fixed on that worry, stay fixed on the future. I use that care to drive my attention back into the present moment onto what I actually need to be doing to give myself the best chance of playing well. Now, the second tip has more to do with after a game. So another major reason that I see a lot of athletes worry about what other people think is because of their confidence. Their confidence relies too much on other people's opinions, so they look to other people for their approval. Now, once again, like I said earlier, this is a very natural thing to have happen, and it's honestly probably the most natural thing for you as an athlete because you want other people to think that you're good. But when you rely too much on the approval of others, this is where it becomes dangerous. This is where your confidence goes up and down based on how well you played or based on whether or not you do get that compliment. What you want to get into the habit of is judging your game for yourself. The way that you judge your game for yourself is you have a post-performance evaluation process. You should also use this in practices as well to help yourself build the habit. The way that this process works is you just ask yourself a couple different questions. So the first question I would recommend you asking yourself is, what did I do well today? What were some good things? So I would list out about 3 to 5 positives from the practice or positives from the game. The second part of this is where you want to ask yourself, what do I want to work on, or what can I learn from today? So once again, list out about 2 to 3, you can list out 5 if you can think of them, if you need to, things that you want to work on or learn from the practice or the game. What this evaluation system does is it gives you the opportunity every day to focus on what you did well. No matter how badly you played, you did have something that you did well, even if you have to look really, really hard for it. And when you do that, you begin this practice of giving yourself positive reinforcement and giving yourself the confidence that you want. But you also aren't brushing past all of your mistakes and just completely overlooking areas to improve. You are saying, what do I want to work on? What do I want to learn? You decide on what those things are, then you put them into practice for the next practice training session, or you focus on them for the next game. This part of the evaluation process helps with your focus moving forward and honestly helps you improve much more than being too critical. So follow those 2 tips, make sure that you understand how you actually play well and focus on that, and then learn how to evaluate your game for yourself to stop worrying so much about what other people think of you and your game. If you have any questions about this video or would like me to make any other videos on different sports psychology topics, please let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each week on sports psychology and mental training.